No, one's two. So you can't see the other. You can only see one now, right?
Right, but what's the other one for it? Instagram or something?
Well, I've got this camera on my phone because it's better quality than this laptop. That's the main reason. And then on the laptop, I'll use it to look at questions and
Right,
see
but what's the other one
what.
for it? Instagram or something?
Well, I've got this camera on my phone because it's better. Say that again.
Oops, I had feedback from I was on the video link and then it wasn't muted, so we were hearing ourselves.
Oh, we're live. Cool.
Yeah, we're live.
Yeah. No, I use my phone as the main camera because it's just got a better camera on it than my laptop, and then I use my laptop to speak to you and look at the questions and stuff.
Oh, I got you.
That's that. Should have probably gone a little bit earlier because we were having some good talk about cryptocurrency, but I suppose that needs to keep separate now anyway. It's probably not a good idea.
Yeah, I got to keep it sacred. That's what the big boss says.
Anyway, for anyone that's watching, this is a live podcast with me and Luke. If you want to ask any questions, then please ask them in the questions box. So, yeah, fire away. Do you want to start with the first one, Luke?
Well, let's do maybe a brief update first.
Cool.
I don't know. We can talk about ourselves in the beginning a little bit. So you're out of 4 lows, right?
Yes, I was been in follows for quite a while. Obviously, when you go into follows on a retest, it's classed as a celebration pattern. I feel like I went into follows on a soul level. I feel like I was forced into follows to learn some lessons. Often when you go into follows around my age, it's often to heal some parental stuff, which is often bound to how you approach relationships. So, if you're in a relationship with a girl, which I've been for the past 4 years, the way that you relate to relationships with women is often how you relate to your parents when you're growing up. So there's different attachment types in relationships. I don't know if you've heard about them. There's like anxious attachment and avoidant attachment and secure attachment. I tended to have a slightly anxious attachment and I got taught basically to be more independent. The avoidant types have more of an independent mindset, but they struggle to open up to people. And obviously secure attachment type is when you feel totally secure within yourself, so relationships run more smoothly. So for me, I was slightly anxious in my relationships. Often people that are in slow oxidation and tend to be in sympathetic dominance tend to be more anxiously attached to people, whereas avoidant types tend to be more fast oxidizers, more independent, but don't tend to feel their emotions as much. But what's interesting is how the world fixes like unhealthy codependency, unhealthy attachment types is you'll get matched up basically with your opposite. So I was an anxious, you get matched up with an avoidant. Basically happened with two of the relationships I've been in, and it kind of the lessons you learn in that force you to become more independent. And yeah, that's related to your attachment types as a child. So yeah, I was healing parental issues. I kind of feel like I've overcome that now. So I'm out of follows, which is a nice feeling, obviously. What else has been going on for me? I've been trying to become more independent by growing my own food and being better with my money and expenditure and taking control of my finances, which I've been doing for a couple of years anyway. And just trying to like be more creative, make stuff, so instead of spending money on like cards, I will make them. It's a lot more creative. I'm getting into like wood carving and stuff, which is nice. I've been, I wanting to carve my own like cutlery and bowls and stuff. I know it sounds quite trivial, but there's something quite sovereign about like doing your own shit. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
It sounds silly, but it's really nice to be like, I don't need to go to the shops to buy cutlery. I mean, I haven't done that yet, but that's kind of what I'm moving towards and stuff. So yeah, it's nice. I'm separating myself for a little bit from society. Not on a kind of turning my back level, but realizing that culture is not your friend on for the most part. I mean, we already know that already, but often when you're in your late 20s, going through the Saturn return, one important step of evolution moving into adulthood, if you're going through a healthy soul evolution, is to separate yourself a little bit from culture, from society, and to do your own thing. So that's been quite nice, you know, looking after my own shit. You know, I think you mentioned it on a video one time, you know, you can't clean your own bedroom, then stop doing stupid things. So basically, I've just been looking after myself and um, yeah, dealing with my own stuff, which has been nice. It's easy to think you can change the world when you're younger, you know. So I've been going within. That's pretty much what I've been up to, man. What about you?
I'm still in Forlos too. I don't know if it's the parental thing. Um, Maybe it is. I had a pretty vivid dream a couple of nights ago about like my parents fighting when I was young. So I don't know if that was part of a releasing or something like that. Um, I would say in relationships, I'm not your type, but I'm the other type you said, the one where it's like you have trouble opening up.
Avoidant.
Yeah, I'm the avoidant personality for sure.
Yeah, so you might have matched with someone who's a little bit more anxious. I don't know, you're probably close to secure. Is this sliding scale, like you're not like usually set in one bracket, but
Right. I'm definitely more of the type where like if something upsets me or something in a relationship, I'll just like go silent.
mm,
You know, instead of like trying to talk it out or like talking through it or something like that. You know what I mean? I'll just be more like I'll just like kind of close off.
mm. Probably one of
Um,
the reasons why we're friends as well.
what's that?
Probably one of the reasons why we're friends is because the thing is with avoidant and anxious is that you like the way another person is, you like some of their qualities. So, for example, an avoidant type is they struggle to open up. They seem to be more independent, you know. So when they see someone who seems to open up quite well and has got this kind of more of emotional side, they find that quite attractive because it's something they haven't got subconsciously. Whereas an anxious type sees someone who seems quite independent and doing their own thing and quite I suppose the word sturdy, I don't know what it is, just quite yeah, quite strong, even though inside they're probably having difficulties. That's attractive to them as well, you know. So
Right.
you see in friends that they'll tend to have it works quite well as long as it's not like super out of balance. Because usually like you might be avoidant, but you've got a lot of secure tendencies as well. Do you know what I mean? Whereas I'm anxious, but I've also got a lot of secure tendencies. But you can get people like totally on one end of the spectrum, you know. Usually if they come together in some sort of relationship, like you get a lot of fireworks.
Right. And then some of you might know. I don't think I've actually told anyone on the YouTube channel, but my partner is actually pregnant. She's been pregnant for about I think 6 weeks now. Her due date is in January. Um, so maybe going through some stuff with that, just like I've been trying to focus more on work because I realized that like I have to provide more of the income because she can't work while she's pregnant. Some stuff with that. I don't think I expected pregnancy to affect her as much as it is. I think perhaps in hindsight, it would have been better if we had waited for her to get healthier for a year or two, because she is still in four lows, and I think that the pregnancy is making her sicker than it would have been if she was. Like I do think in our society we get used to things. Like a lot of like pregnant women now, like they complain so much about like morning sickness and like how terrible pregnancy is. I really don't believe it was that way 100 years ago. I don't think that women were that burdened by pregnancy because it is a burden on the body to, you're giving birth to a being, and basically it's like a parasite in your body that's like sucking off nutrients and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I just don't think that women were as affected by it 100 years ago as they are now. Um, I think the women could work longer into the pregnancy, doing things, and it wasn't so much a burden on their body. Yeah, they probably had to rest more and they were eating more, obviously, and stuff like that. But it wasn't like today where the bodies are so fragile that when a woman gets pregnant, she like can't do anything and she's sick all the time. You know what I mean? So I do think that we probably should have waited another year or two. I mean, she has made progress on her hair tests, and she is healthier than she used to be. She's gone through some good retracings and stuff like that. But so I think part of what I'm going through now is just realizing that I'm gonna have to take care of her more than I thought I would have to, just because it is very taxing on her system, and she has to sleep a lot, and she can't really work. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's understandable, man.
Right.
Yeah,
But it's
congratulations.
good. I don't regret it or anything like that, and it's exciting. You know what I mean? And it's good because she already has a daughter that's 3, and it'll be good for her to have a sibling. I think to ground her in certain ways and stuff like that. And Ivy, she's been on some. You guys have seen me talk about Ivy, and she's making good progress on her test, and she's smart and healthy and everything. So that's good.
Cool. You're gonna have a super baby.
Yeah.
From birth.
What's that?
You can work on this one from birth.
Yeah. And so even if the baby's maybe not quite as healthy as it could have been because Sarah didn't wait as long, I'm not really too concerned about the health of the baby in general, just because I know we'll be starting on the program from birth and everything. I'm not really too concerned about that. It's just more of a realization that like that the pregnancy is really taxing on Sarah.
Did Sarah know that you was into this program like well before you got together, or there's obviously a big part of your life? Like, I usually found that like getting into relationships and stuff, like explaining the programs to people is like tough.
Yeah, she knew. Yeah.
Okay. And did she start it before you got together or like during?
No, she started during.
Oh, she was happy to go along with it.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool. Lucky you.
Yeah, I mean, she doesn't really like understand it a lot, and she doesn't like really study it or anything like that. But she goes along with it.
Cool. Even through the healing reactions and stuff, that must be pretty intense.
Yeah, she had some really bad healing reactions. Yeah. It's hard for me to relate to sometimes to people that have really bad healing reactions because, in all honesty, I've never had really bad healing reactions. I just basically get sick.
Jesus.
I'll get the flu, or like I'll retrace stuff in my face where basically it's like I have an ear infection for 2 weeks. I've done that like, I don't know, like 7 times now or something like that. You know what I mean? Where I retrace infections like that. But hers were like way more painful.
Man, I still have pretty intense healing reactions now, 6 years later.
Yeah, and people don't realize like healing reactions never really stop.
No, it's an interesting process.
Right.
Very interesting.
So yeah, I mean, we've been trying to implement down sex more. I think I've gotten a little better at it. It was difficult at first.
Man, one thing that really kills me off, man, if I ejaculate too much.
Yeah. For you men out there, me and Lewis both have realized that ejaculating really does affect your health a lot, and you should try to save as much fluid as possible, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's a difficult one to come to terms with, but it's really needed. At least until you get a little bit healthier. And even when you are a little bit healthy, you don't want to be doing it any more than like once every 2 weeks. And it is hard. It's difficult because you know what I mean. Like, it's tough, man. It's tough. I mean, this is a long narrow path, like they talk about.
Right. I do want to say it is
path. It's a long narrow path for good health. It's not
right.
as if like everyone else doesn't suffer from these problems. Like they're all the same. in a way, you should think yourself lucky that you understand it more than other guys do, because there's guys out there that is probably sleeping with a partner like every day and just ejaculating, and it's absolutely ruining their health, and they got no idea why.
Right. I also want to say that it is better when you're losing fluid in a long term, like when I lose fluid to Sarah, for example. At least then, if it is weakening me, and I'm at least it's going to her, and we're in a long term relationship, and at least it's going to her, and then that helps. Actually, it's kind of strange, but it's actually healing her in a way, right? Because I'm giving her some of my nutrient, I'm giving her some of my life force, and if you're doing that if you're at least doing that with a partner, then that's helping to heal her, which she'll then reciprocate back to you. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
you could look at it like that. I mean, again, it depends on the health of the guy. I mean, you might be all right getting away with it, not feeling too bad, but yeah, I mean, like I was in positions where it used to absolutely kill me off. But I have to admit, like you'll go like 1, 2, 3 months without ejaculating, and that the feeling is so good. Like when your testosterone's high, it is so far the best feeling that I've had whilst on a nutritional balancing program or whilst healing. Like it's the energy and the creative energy that you get from holding on to that, to the sexual energy, is so good that after a while you think to yourself, well, what do I prefer to do? Do I prefer to have this beautiful energy 24/7, or do I want to waste it for 5 seconds of, superficial pleasure? Do you understand what I mean? It's like coming to that realization after a while of, I can use this creative energy to do good in the world and to love people and to really enjoy my time, or I can just kind of waste it for, 5 seconds of pleasure and feel shit for the next 2 weeks. It just doesn't make sense after a while.
Right, right. All I'm saying is that at least that if you are losing fluid and you're married,
yeah, for sure.
at least it is reciprocating back to you to a certain extent.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I used to make sure that my partner was getting it when I was gonna do it.
But what?
I used to ensure that if I was going to ejaculate, my partner would receive it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you're in a long term relationship, and you're gonna lose fluid, you might as well give her your fluid instead of just doing it into a condom and then it goes down the you know. You're right. You're right. It's weird.
No,
It's
it's
strange to
true.
think about that. People don't think about it that way, and it's kind of gross to a lot of people to think about it that way. I realized a lot of people, if you tell them, they're like, ugh, but it's true. It's just true.
No,
It doesn't
truth.
make it not true.
Well, I think it's enjoyable for everyone. I mean, I've never had a problem.
You had a problem? What?
I think it's enjoyable for both parties, in my experience. Never had
Yeah.
any complaints. Well,
All right.
apart from me complaining afterwards. But anyway.
All right.
So
We're gonna answer some questions here.
yeah.
All right. Joe Glowski. Glogowski. Powerful Polish name or something. I don't know. Have either of you guys tried or talked to somebody who has any of the trance work, Dr. Wilson's website, or a trance on the toe trance, looking for a first-hand account? I did the toe trance once on an ex partner of mine who needed to go through really deep healing, and I did it a little bit, but it was too much. I had to stop because it brought up too much stuff in her. It is very powerful. It's good. It's kind of strange, but yeah, it works.
Yeah, I've not really tried it. I've done the toe trance before, and yeah, I did go into a bit of a weird state afterwards, but I haven't done it consistently. I have been meaning to do it consistently with Ian, who lives in Sheffield as well. So yeah, I am going to get around to doing that. Because apparently, like if you do it every week, it like can speed up your development by half. So it's something to take note of.
Right, right. That's one reason why I'm trying to do down sex more is because when I talk to Dr. Wilson, he always says the guides tell him that that the most powerful procedure they have is down sex.
Mm. It's probably the reason why tantric sex is so powerful.
He says he doesn't even really understand. He tells me he doesn't even really understand it, but they just tell him that it's the most powerful part.
Wow.
So
it's difficult though, man. I mean, it's difficult because
it's very difficult.
you're not really having sex. Like I think the word should probably it should be called to an it should be changed name to maybe exercise, because when you're doing it, like you don't feel like you're having sex, you just feel like you're in doing some sort of exercise, like the pushing down meditation. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, sex to me has a bit of movement involved, you know.
Right.
Um, but for me, like, yeah, I think sometimes as well, you kind of because you don't really the woman doesn't really have orgasms, you don't really have orgasms, and there's a little bit of like ego from on my side, like wanting to give a woman an orgasm. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. I mean, I don't how have you found it?
I think one of the most difficult aspects is positioning. It's hard to like, because for me, when I meditate by myself, it's laying on my back in bed usually, you know. And so you can't obviously both do that when you're having down sex. And so for me, it's actually not that difficult, you know, the actual procedure. It's just like the positioning to like find a comfortable position. It's like either she's on top of me, so all her weight's on top of me,
Mm.
or she can kind of straddle me while I'm laying down. That seems to work pretty well. But then she kind of has to support her weight unless she's like just smushing me. You can kind of sit on the edge of the bed, and then my feet are on the ground, and she's straddling me that way. But you know, you kind of your legs take a lot of pressure, and eventually your legs get kind of sore because she's all her weight's on your legs. And so for me, the hardest part is just like positioning.
Yeah, no, me too. I've been in positions before where like your legs are aching, their legs are aching. After a while, you're just like, oh, I'll give up. Do something
Dr.
else.
Wilson said that the best way is to get a meditation board,
Right.
and then you're on the edge of the bed, and then you set it on your lap, and then she's on the board, so like you don't take so much of the pressure.
Mm. All right, cool.
I don't know. I gotta look it up. I gotta buy one off Amazon or something. All right. I heard Luke mentioning one time that Dr. Wilson was tuning into his soul and was having a hard time because he was wearing dark colors. Any more woo-woo Dr. Wilson guide stories to share? Yeah, the wearing bright colors. There's a reason why goth people and people that are depressed and like emo people wear dark colors. So you have to realize there's an energetic phenomenon happening there, and that when you're wearing bright colors, dark colors absorb energy, and then bright colors radiate and they block. And so the reason why we like bright colors for people is because you're absorbing less of people's energy and you're more radiating, and it's harder for you to absorb like lower frequency energies.
I've just found the more I did the program, the more I want to be around bright colors. I think I'm probably the most colorful. I mean, I hang around with some colorful friends, though, to be fair now, but I'm always wearing like bright colors. Like, I don't know what it is now. Just after a while, you just, because you're quite confident and your personality's got a bit of a spark to it, you feel quite open just to wear that whatever you want, and I just wear plenty of colors. You also feel grounded at the same time, which is nice, you know. Um, I think a lot of creative people, I think I was very, very creative inside, and I think it was just waiting to break out at some point, you know. And I think society as well, like, there's a little bit of a taboo of people that go around wearing bright colors, you know what I mean? And if you're not confident to own your own authenticity, like, you feel a bit awkward doing that. Do you know what I mean? But after a while, when I've just realized that I just need to say like F you to the majority of the people walking down the street, I'll just do whatever I want now, which includes wearing whatever I want.
Yeah. Confident people don't care quite so much, I don't think, about what they're wearing.
Now I don't really have that much of a problem.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm always reminded of what's his name, the entrepreneur guy on YouTube. It's really eccentric. Uh, what is his name?
Entrepreneur, what, is set up businesses?
Oh, Gary Vaynerchuk.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like he'll go into like multi-million-dollar business meetings, like on his blog, and he'll be wearing like a Jets beanie that's like tilted to the side, like just zero F words.
Yeah. I think it's like, yeah, I think I have a little bit of a blockage as well. Like even being a nutrition balancing practitioner, I mean, it's not even a blockage; it's absolutely fine. But just the idea that people expect you to maybe be in a suit or to look really smart or whatever, and just like I'll just turn up to like interviews and stuff, just wearing like ridiculously coloured outfits and whatnot, and just people just assume that people should be dressed a certain way these days, and it's just like so like just like robs you of your like authenticity and your dignity, you know. It's
Right.
understandable, you know, like you drive through like my city and at like 3 p.m. in the afternoon and you see all the kids coming out of school all wearing the same dark, dreary, you know, either black, navy or green, dark green uniforms. And it's just, I mean, they're children, man. They're just like, you just can see the creativity sucked out of them from such a young age, you know, forced to sit and read books and write and all this kind of stuff, which is good, but there's no uniqueness anymore. It's really nice. I know a few. I hang around with some pretty cool people nowadays, you know, and the people that have got kids, the people I hang around with, they send them to wilderness school. It's called wilderness school in England, whereby it's basically like nature based, and they can just wear whatever they want. And you know, kids will just rock up to school in like Superman outfits and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, man, you know, it's so cool to see that because it's like they're just doing whatever they want in like an authentic way, you know, breeds kind of unique individual, like, you know, confident kids when they grow up.
Right. Right. I think it depends. Um, like there are just statistics showing that like if kids wear uniforms, that they're more like the overall grade scores increase. I think it's like a balance between the two. Um,
Yeah,
definitely
but
a
I
lot of
mean,
school is just definitely a lot of school is just too much indoors, too much.
but it's all
It's
about grades, though, isn't it? You know, it's all about grades. It's all about. Do you see where I'm coming from? It's all about getting higher grades, which means
right,
in order to get higher grades, you need to force a child to do like more revision or whatever.
right. It's
Which,
way too much memorization and not near enough problem solving.
yeah, you know, what I mean, it's like I just think children want to be more, need to be more playful, and I think that's what makes you successful as well.
Right. There's way too much memorization of facts.
Way too much, way too much. I mean, the people that do well these days in school, let's face it, are the ones that are good at remembering things. But like, you know, like some of the most brilliant people in the world, for example, are autistic or dyslexic or whatever, and they're the ones that did crap in school. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like I know like some of my good friends, you know what I mean, have got like clearly got issues with like dyslexia or like attention deficit, but I hang around with them because they're very, very brilliant, logical people, and these are the people that did really poorly in school. And you just think, do you know what, man? It's all back to front because, you know, what I mean, I don't feel like I'm a stupid person. You know, I hang around with people that got heart and have got soul that think outside the box and question things. And a lot of these people like did really bad in school because their brain thinks differently.
Right. 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 We have a question for you, Lewis, number 3.
Hi, Lewis. You mentioned that during meditation you had a vision of sitting on a beach in Thailand. Do people normally report visions such as what you mentioned? Uh, not really. I mean, you know, usually I don't get visions. I mean, the thing is with the pushing down exercise is that it's basically designed for you to bring in the energy of God, bring in love, and you get a lot of I get a lot of insights, just ideas that pop into my mind. And at the same time, you know, you're meant to be concentrating on your feet and watching thoughts go past. So you don't really get that many visions. But I think, yeah, sometimes if you go quite deep, you know, you'll get certain visions and stuff. You need to be you need to be wary of the differences between visions and the fact that your mind's just wandered off anywhere. Do you know what I mean? I think there's a difference between having a vision and being in a situation where your mind's wandered off and you need to bring it back to the present. So it was a really random one for me. I don't really get things like that before, so it was interesting, you know. Yeah, but usually not for me anyway. Maybe for other people. What about you, Luke?
Um, I don't really get too many visions. I get like pretty powerful dreams a lot of times, or insights about things I should work on and stuff like that. But no, like full on like visual visions.
Yeah, it's not really designed to do that. But
Yeah, I
that's
don't
what
really
was
think it
interesting.
is.
That was why it was an interesting. I talked about it because something else happened that was really interesting and weird. So that's why I mentioned it. But yeah, in general, like, you know, don't usually get visions like that.
Yeah, it's more like you just like your brain. You it's like you're fine. It's like every time you do it, like you fine or tune your brain centers, and like you can pick up more frequencies.
Yeah, I mean, I mean, I get a lot of insights. Most of my insights in businesses and how to move forward on the like the majority of my insights will come in meditation in the morning. And I definitely put the pushing down exercise. Like it's one of the biggest things that's brought me a lot of like the success that I've got. But I mean success in terms of integrity, not success in terms of making loads of money or like, you know, just success of being able to be healthy and to be able to navigate life in balanced ways is in large part due to the pushing down exercise because of the insights and the knowledge you get from that. It's really powerful.
Okay. Are fatigue attacks common or more frequent when detoxing? It depends. Yeah, fatigue attacks can be pretty common. I still get tired sometimes. More some days more than others. And it also depends, like if you're in four lows or something like that. It depends.
Yeah, I used to get a lot of fatigue attacks more when I was healing in the past. I know this guy's one of my clients, and I know he's going through a difficult time at the moment. Well, because he's doing really well. His hair analysis is super good. He's really detoxed a lot of stuff. So, you know, he'll be getting fatigue attacks, you know, as the body releases another bit of toxin, as the body will try to heal an organ or deal with some sort of layer, you'll just get a random fatigue attack. I definitely don't get them as much anymore. I did have one maybe a couple of months back. Um, you know, so I take a lot of things for granted now. I'm not sure about you, Luke, but you know, like I take a lot of things for granted, and sometimes when I'll go for a healing reaction, it'll remind me of the past, and I'll be like, wow, man, it's nice that I'm not in that position anymore because it's pretty crap.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that for sure. We're doing foot reflexology. Where should I focus? I mean, I like to pop the toes more than anything, to be honest. Like I just like pop my back, then I pop my toes, and then I like to rub sore spots on the top of the foot.
I think in general, though, there isn't a real place to necessarily concentrate or focus. It depends on the person. You know, in general, you need to be focusing everywhere. But you know, if you're going through a liver detox, you know, if you're detoxifying, you want to concentrate on the liver or certain meridian points based upon what you're going through, then it's probably a wise thing to do. But yeah, I always pop the toes. But I suppose I've got an electrical machine that does reflexology for me, so I'll just navigate my feet in there wherever it feels a little bit more sensitive and just work on that area.
Symptoms of iron toxicity. It's
Well,
harder to say, like as far as physical symptoms. Like I don't know, like a lot of times with like mineral deficiencies or toxicities, it can be harder to pinpoint any sort of like disease or something like you might have. People that have a lot of iron, I would say there's two things. One is like if you have a lot of iron, you probably have a lot of what we call amigos. You probably have a lot of manganese toxicity and aluminum toxicity, and those are affecting your metabolic pathway in certain ways. You know, because they're not preferred in the enzyme sites. And then people with a lot of iron tend to be angry, because it settles in the liver, and it can cause people with iron toxicity oftentimes have unresolved anger.
I have real problems with not being able to stand up for myself. I get so easily upset when there is any confrontation and feel unable to deal with it properly or be assertive. I am in 4 laws. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things you could say about that, really. A lot on a biochemical level, a lot of the reasons why people can't stick up for themselves is often because they're quite yin. They're in like a victim mentality. You need energy to be assertive. You need things like a lot of zinc, for example, which is much more an assertive, grounded mineral. You're probably suffering from a lot of past traumas, whereby you probably you're probably going to have to go through some it's probably related to parents on one level, whereby maybe you struggle to stand up to a parent for whatever reason. Your mom or dad might have been quite passive or aggressive, and you felt like it was difficult to stand up for them. You might have had a trauma in school where something trivial might have stopped you from like standing up for yourself. But in general, if you're in 4 laws, you know what I mean, on a biochemical level, it's going to be hard to be assertive. Um, I've generally find that when healing, like if you start surrounding yourself by actually decent people and get toxic people out of your life, there's a much less need to be assertive. You only tend to want to be assertive in positions whereby someone's stealing your energy. So if you've got energy vampires or people stealing your energy, the best thing to do is cut them out of your life. Like, it's not a bad thing to do. It's probably much easier to cut them out of your life than try and worry about being assertive, especially while you're healing from 4 laws. So, don't know if you got anything to say on that, Luke.
Yeah, it's that. Just like, you tend to only have to be assertive with people that are confronting you in a certain way. So it could be like a situational thing where you shouldn't be working in that job, or like, be around those people, whatever scenario might be. And being assertive is also like a certain amount, like being grounded in your body. Like assertive people, like you have to be able to you have to do the pushing down exercise, and you have to eat plenty of red meat, and you have to be able to like feel your body. Like, don't be afraid of like even the hormonal rush that you get as you have to be assertive. You have to feel it. You have to like feel the muscles and the tendons, and you have to like feel it to be in your body to be assertive.
Yeah, and you get a lot more assertive, I think. No, I mean, I don't want assertiveness to come across as like being rude or being arrogant or whatever. But as you do the program and you have experiences in your real life, realize what is the truth and what's not the truth. It's much more easy. It's much more easy to be assertive because you've lived the truth and you know the truth quite well. So when someone says something, or and you're doing the pushing down exercise, and you know that actually what they're saying is untruth, it's much more easy for you to be assertive in your response because you've actually lived the truth and experienced it. And often they can feel it in your energy field, and they can feel it within your words, in your response, and whatnot. But I think overall, don't worry about it. If people are sucking your energy, cut them out of your lives. Even if it's a family member, it's not worth the energy loss, especially while you're in 4 laws. You need to be concentrating on healing yourself, rather than worrying about things like that. Hello?
Let's see here. What's the link between infrared and difficult healing reactions?
We've missed one.
What? Which one? My bad.
Do any of you feel a lack of fat in your diet? I'm on a slow oxidizer, but I struggle with that because I always want more.
Well, if you're in sympathetic dominance, you can have a little bit more fat because it will help slow you down. You could have a parasite issue because sometimes worms and stuff like that crave fat more. If you're gonna eat more fat, you can do it at night, especially, because if you're a slow oxidizer, fat will slow you down. But at night, you're gonna be resting anyway, and you're gonna be about ready to go to bed. So, you can especially. So I would say, especially at dinner, it's okay to have more fat, and especially also if you're in sympathetic dominance. And some people need a little bit more fat. you have to realize it's not a huge issue to get the fat exactly right. You can eat a little bit more fat, and it's not going to affect your program that much. Okay, if you're eating your vegetables, and you're doing the pushing down exercise and doing enemas, and you're getting plenty of sleep and taking your supplements and drinking good water, and you're doing all this stuff, but you're eating a little bit more fat, you have to keep in mind it's not going to really affect your program that much. And you might need it, especially if you're doing physical labor. You need more calories.
Cool. Hey guys, what's the link between infrared and difficult healing reactions? I'm not really sure what that question means too much. I will tell you that the infrared sauna is, in my opinion, probably the most powerful detox protocol on the program. I mean, you can really go. I mean, if there's any link, is the fact that I think it's super powerful. So you can potentially go through an intense healing reaction by going in the saunas. There's a lot of reasons why. If you want to really get deep, buy Dr. Wilson's article on infrared saunas. But at the end of the day, you got to look at it from this perspective. If you're ill and you're full of toxins, if you're sat doing nothing and you're getting hit by dark yang, very hot infrared light, and your body's hot, your heart rate starts to improve massively, your circulation starts to improve, and you start to sweat a lot, the amount of shift that can cause inside the body is phenomenal, So you can understand the reasons why you can have very intense healing reactions by using an infrared sauna. So it's something where you need to be careful about, because if you go through a healing reaction in the sauna, it's important to understand how to navigate through that by speaking to your practitioner. Maybe you need to get off the saunas for a little bit until you go through it, etc. I don't know if I made the mistake. I don't know whether it's a mistake or not, but when I was in Thailand, I went through the big healing reaction. I was doing like the program absolutely perfectly, and I went through a huge healing reaction. Just kept doing the program even harder, and probably I should have slowed down a little bit because things started getting way intense. So yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Let's see here. Can the inability to abstain from masturbation be caused by sympathetic dominance? It's getting hard to not to at least once a week. Yeah, definitely, because like if you're irritated in that area of the body, if you're in sympathetic dominance, oftentimes there's tension in the pelvic area that can be causing you to want to lose fluid more often. And if you're doing it, once a week, it's not. It depends. You have to kind of learn how to feel it. To feel the energy yourself. If you're doing it once a week and it's not really affecting you too much, it might not be too much of an issue. Preferably, like if you're doing the pushing down exercise, you should be able to feel that energy building up inside of you, and then feel yourself holding it, and then feel you lose some of it when you do ejaculate. So it's a little bit of a personal thing, but I do recommend, like in general, you should save it as much as possible. If you are doing it, you can rub it back into yourself. That sounds gross. I mean, I don't really care what people think, but if you are masturbating, you can rub it back into your skin in that area.
Be a man, be a hardcore man and swallow it. I'm joking.
But yeah, like rubbing it back into your skin can, you'll recover a lot of it. I don't know the percentage or anything like that, but you recover quite a bit of it, I think. But you can do that. And also it might be a learning experience, as you heal, you might be able to hold on to it longer, but don't get too down on yourself for it or anything like that.
I think I spoke about the ejaculation stuff earlier on, and I think like it really affects me personally, the ejaculation aspect, so I can really relate to some guys that are struggling. And just one thing I will say is, I said it before, but the creative energy that ejaculate. Basically, if you want to get deeper into this, like, we're not really supposed to ejaculate all the time. It's not really God's will. The will of God is to use it mainly just for reproduction and stuff. The fact that we got pleasured, the fact that ejaculation causes pleasure is quite a deep subject, and you can get quite deep into that. A lot of it's to do with the separation from God and stuff. But you'll find that sexual energy that's kept in the root chakra from semen is so powerful. If you do the program, you eat plenty of red meat and you start building up that energy, you'll feel good as a man, and it grounds you and you feel really strong. Now you can do two things with it. Like, you'll feel quite animalistic and you'll want to go out and masturbate and have sex. That's one avenue. That's one route that most men go down when they get this feeling. But then what you'll do is you'll just use it. You'll waste it, basically. Like, you're not really doing much with it. Or you can go down the other route and realize that this creative energy you can use for massive amounts of good. And instead of going upwards and out, you go downwards and in. So you can push the energy downwards to the floor, and you can use that really on doing a lot of good things in the world. And I think this one thing that I've learned recently, especially with the parental stuff and the Saturn return, a lot of guys don't put their mission and purpose first, and it's really important for a guy to do that. It's about reconnecting your energy with God, but instead, what they'll do is they'll relive the Adam and Eve story over and over again. So instead of like being a rugged, independent man who deals with his own shit and does what he needs to do, he'll kind of fall for a woman, and he'll just get into this cycle constantly, and it's just really unhealthy. So it's really good to kind of get out of that. And if you're getting into a relationship because you're lonely or you're feeling sad or you're kind of wanting love or you need it, don't do that, because you're going to get yourself into problems. Focus on yourself first, learn to love yourself first, and use that energy for good in the world. And yeah, you'll be thankful for it. But I think a lot of men will need to learn the hard way. No pun intended, but you're going to have to learn the hard way, like I did.
Right.
Just
Also,
because
it's very difficult because our whole society is over sexualized. Like, if you even think about like many men struggle with like pornography addiction. You have to realize that like the male brain was never designed to have access to pornography. Like, the male brain was never designed to literally with one stroke of a keyboard have access to any sort of visual sexual stimulus you could ever conjure. You know what I mean?
yeah, exactly.
Right.
That's it, and that's one of the reasons why I kind of speak a lot about this not returning to nature, but just trying to get into that mindset of what are we designed as humans to do. We're not really designed to be on computers all day. You know what I mean? This is why everyone says go to bed for 9 o'clock. The reason why it's good to go to bed at 9 o'clock is because if you were sat around a campfire at night time, you've really got nothing else to do but to go to sleep. It's dark, you can't see anything, so you just go to sleep, and that's why it's good for your body. Do you understand what I mean? The reason why it's good to not watch pornography is because we're not designed to do that. Like, it just clouds your mind, clouds your thinking. So like, if I'm trying to get into this kind of new Aboriginal mindset, this new Indigenous person who by kind of lives like in nature's law, but in the household. So you're switching off electrics at 9 o'clock. You know what I mean? You calm things down. You maybe just put candles on. You use fire instead of lights and stuff, and you'll find that actually it's way better to look at things. Go out and grow your own food. Focus on your friends and family rather than like focusing out on the world or nightclubs or lots of events, etc. Like, you can switch your mindset. It really works well. It's helped me a lot.
Right. And it's also difficult because like our society in general is over sexualized, and so it can be tough. Like, especially like the way women dress even, and just everyone you're around is over sexualized and praises sexuality more than it should. It can be very difficult. Especially when it's ingrained into you at a young age, because the society is sick. Okay, it's like the same thing with sugar, right? So your brain was never meant to you're never meant to have access to refined sugar whenever you wanted. You know what I mean? So when you're given that at a young age and it's part of society, it's very difficult to break these sorts of things. It's very difficult to break that when it's been ingrained into you at a young age, and your body was never adapted to have access to that. It's very difficult. That's why so many people struggle with sugar addiction, right? Because literally in nature, yeah, maybe you had some fruit during the summertime, you picked some berries or something like that, but to have access to high quantities of refined sugar 24/7, your body was never designed for that.
Yeah, it's a good way of looking at things. It's a good. Just ask yourself: everyone can use common sense. Is the human body designed to do this? And often you'll find no, it's not.
Right.
It's just a good way of looking at things.
Yeah, I agree.
Right, where are we?
Okay, ask this question because I feel really bad after each sauna session. I mean, you could be overdoing it. If you feel really bad for long periods of time, I would probably recommend dialing it down. You can do it less often, and you can do it for me, sometimes if it makes me feel bad, it doesn't make me feel bad if I just do it for only 20, 25 minutes. So if you're doing it for 40, 45 minutes, maybe cut it in half. And then that way you can get a little bit of sweat and you can heat yourself up and get some of the benefits, get some of that light on you. But it's not going to really affect you a lot. Yeah, sometimes you got to take it easy with the sauna. And I go through periods where I don't even use the sauna for weeks at a time sometimes because it's too much.
Me too. It's too much. And one thing that you need to realize, and Dr. Wilson doesn't mention it enough, is that some people I know it's low EMF in the infrared sauna, but some people have got EMF sensitivity will be set too sensitive to the EMF saunas, to the infrared saunas. Unfortunately, there is ways of creating really low EMF saunas, making sure that you've got good plugs and making you can put some material on the wiring. I'm going to try and build one at some point and show everyone how to do it. But that's another problem as well that people aren't aware of as such. You need to be careful of, especially if you're not sleeping. You've got this wired kind of fuzzy feeling off it because you've got EMF sensitivity.
Right.
All right, I think we missed a question here. Do you think DP/DR is caused by psychological reasons also, or just because the imbalance of body chemistry, heavy metal toxicity? I generally find people that got derealization, depersonalization often have an unhealthy personality pattern that then causes their bodies to become sick and burn out and toxic. So usually to unwind DP/DR, you've got to kind of go backwards, which the nutrition balancing program does. So by healing the body, you'll then after a while heal the emotional personality traumas that was probably causing you to get into that position in the first place. So it's a little bit of both. I think it's all physical derealization and depersonalization. Biochemically, your brain is not functioning properly. I don't think there's only a few mental reasons that could get you into that. Maybe a feeling of if you feel really stupid or dumb, that can cause you to get derealization symptoms. But in general, most of it is physical. And yeah, and the physical, toxic metal is always usually coupled up with some sort of trauma. So as you release a metal that was causing you to have that derealization, you'll probably release the trauma at the same time. So you just end up killing two birds with one stone. So it is a complex situation, but best not to get pigeonholed into, oh, is it psychological? Is it physical? Just do the program and don't worry about it too much.
So ICCU says that it's hard for him to do the meditation because of nasal polyps, the block of the airway. Let me look up nasal polyps. Are they kind of like warts?
Where are you reading from here? You're missing questions. So I've just read Mohammed's question. Marcus has put, "Man, I live for these podcasts. You guys are the real MVPs." What does that mean?
Yeah, these aren't. Some of them aren't questions. They're just like, "Hey, you guys are cool."
But yeah, how to deal with studying and reading having visual snow. That's the next one. I don't know. You could try using different colors. you can get different colored lenses on your glasses and stuff, which can help. Try changing the background color of the paper to something like blue, maybe, or blue on black. Dr. Wilson's website does quite well. Just try using different colors, and you generally find that it will help a lot. Shades, sunglasses, shades, it can help when you're reading and when you got visual snow. But again, you know, if you fix the brain, you'll get much easier to do. So yeah, the polyps questions now. Go for it.
Well, I was just reading a little bit. I was trying to get an understanding. It is what I thought it is. It's like a kind of like a growth, like a wart or something. You need to get them removed. So you should go to a doctor and get them removed, and then hopefully by healing on the program, they won't grow back. That would be how I would deal with it: is do whatever you can to get them removed because they're affecting your healing. Because it's affecting your ability to breathe. And I don't think that the program will remove them on their own. It's possible over time, but if I were you, I would get them removed by a doctor. Maybe your insurance can pay for it, or you can, I don't know, try to figure it out and try to do it for as cheap as possible. That'd be my recommendation. Simple, but that's simple advice, but I think that's what you should do. Oh, I am going to have them removed very soon. Oh, nice. Well, that's good, man. Congratulations. Hopefully it'll make it easier, And sometimes we need like medicine, if we have something that's affecting our healing, like nasal polyps, sometimes you need to go to a doctor and get those bad boys removed, so. Cool. Let's see here. It is a bit weird, but as a woman, since a few years, I feel hardened, almost male. It causes gender confusion for me. Can this be toxic minerals? I was not like this before. I imagine you're not referring to a few years on the program. You're saying that like within the last few years, this started happening to you.
She's been on the program for about a year and a half, I think, Leonie.
Oh, okay. She has. Is she one of your clients?
Yeah, about a year and a half, maybe a year.
It could be that you're just becoming more young and you're not used to it, and that you feel more male because you're not as coppery and feminine as you were before. Because the program does make females more male in certain ways. And so it could be that you're not used to being as assertive and you're not used to feeling as hardened, but in reality, it's how you should be. And you've confused it with being too masculine, but in reality, it's you being healthier. That could be it. What do you think, Lewis?
So, as a woman, I feel hard and almost male. It causes gender confusion for me because it's toxic minerals, blah, blah. So, yeah, I know Leonie come from like a fruitarian background. I think she does a lot of veganism. One of my gut feelings is that she's probably had some difficult situations with men, which is gonna harden her a little bit, just because of that. Also, I'm pretty sure she was in a calcium shell, pretty deep calcium shell, which is gonna make you emotionally numb. Coupled with a lot of toxins in there as well, is gonna make you just feel hardened to the world. And I think it's easy to probably think that this is how males, almost male, but it's not. Probably not. It's probably just you're relating it to that because you've got no other reference point. I think she's going for a lot of healing at the moment, and I think probably at the end of the day, the amount of healing that she's going through and needs to go through, the body's probably not going to be too interested in men at the moment anyway, and also that trauma that's probably related to men, which I feel is probably the case, and it's the case with most women, will probably need to come up at some point. But after a while, once you get a bit more, because Leonie's, she has a lot of hidden anger, and I think that is what makes it quite rigid. I would assume that she also suffers from things like tight tissue syndrome, which also can give you this kind of, it's quite yang in many respects, but it kind of gives you this hardened feeling. I feel that as she detoxes and becomes a lot more lighter energetically, these certain emotions will come back. But as she comes into more of a divine feminine energy, hopefully she'll want to attract men that are a lot more higher quality anyway. And hopefully that'll come from a much more grounded yang perspective, where she can be in a relationship or be open to men, that's going to help her in her own spiritual momentum forward. The same with the guy, because Leon is very much a light worker. Dr. Wilson has already told us that she's very high on the development stage already, which is quite astonishing. So I think just give it a little bit of time. Don't kind of pigeonhole it a lot. She's going through a lot of different changes and a lot of different um, biochemical changes and toxins and stuff. And I think this question she probably won't even remember it or think about it in a couple of years. I hope that answered the
Right.
question.
I do see this problem more often in like the vegan vegetarian women, because you have to realize that the human being has to balance itself. And so what happens when you eat the fruit and you're doing the fruitarian diet, your body becomes much too yin, and so it starts to absorb cadmium. And so I see it because there's quite a few of those types, even where I live, where they're like the women are more masculine than they should be. You can see it in the skin and their personalities. They're often more like just aggressive towards men in certain ways, partially due to that vegan fruitarian lifestyle. Just because the way that the female body will balance itself by eating so much fruit is it will absorb more cadmium. Some of the cadmium is actually coming from the fruit itself. It's a way for nature to balance itself, right? So the fruit is too yin, and so it absorbs toxic cadmium in the fruit itself to balance itself. This is like an energetic phenomenon, right? And so this will happen when in the female's bodies, and so they'll have the duality of being too yin, along with a lot of cadmium, instead of having more of the mature sort of spiritual female elements like manganese and plenty of magnesium in the body, and better forms of potassium and zinc, and better forms of even copper, chromium. So I do see cadmium toxicity is probably, you probably have some cadmium in you as well, possibly from the fruit. Cool. And the cadmium will cause a toxic masculinity in order to balance your body, right? But it's not preferable. It's just it's a toxic, it's like toxic yang. Yes, veganism and feminism are very bad. Right. Feminism itself is not bad. Feminism used to be just equal rights, right? So when people say feminism today, they perverted the word. So they take words that used to mean things and they pervert them through culture and through brainwashing stuff. Modern feminism, yes, is cancerous. Feminism used to be like women should have the right to work, and women should have the right to vote, and women should have equal property rights, and which all these things are true, right? But yes, modern feminism is a shell of its former self, unfortunately.
It seems impossible to get into a relationship with someone without having enough sex. People just think that you're all weird. I think that's untrue. I think that's as you raise your vibration, and as you if you put the intention out there to meet a woman that's not as interested in sex, you'll get it back. I have, and especially the women I've been meeting recently, are not interested. Not because they're sick, but because they're way more mature. And that's just what happens when you raise your vibration. You get what you put out comes back, and you'll think that it's impossible, like I did, but God shocks you a lot of the times, and that's what's happened to me, which is really interesting. So don't worry about it too much. Just heal yourself, and you'll be good. Do you guys feel isolated on the Nutritional Balancing program? Not anymore. I think I used to feel isolated, but yeah, as you heal, you can participate in the world much easier. You know, so now I have a lot of friends. You know, live with a flatmate, see my family. Um, you know, I get out into nature a lot these days. I used to. It makes you feel less isolated. Um, if you do feel isolated, like I know it's difficult when you're healing and you're ill. You know what I mean? If you can, you know, get a pet. Maybe a pet's really good, or a dog. You know, you can try and meet some new friends if you feel that you can do that. You know, there is people out there that are probably in a similar position to you that you know whereby they're sick as well, and they you know maybe you can find people that also are into healing. But yeah, I can understand it. It can be an isolated program. Not I don't think necessarily on purpose, just because the amount of work that people need to do to make themselves like healthy these days is so much that it takes a long time to rest and to just do the protocols and whatnot. Um, but I definitely I don't feel isolated anymore. Don't know about you, Luke.
Yeah, I think as you heal, you become more comfortable with your own energy, and so like many people are like use going out as a stimulus because they're running away from themselves. I found, and so a lot of people like to go out a lot and party, and they like to go out and you know, drink or do whatever sort of social activities every night. A lot of times they're running away from themselves, and if they stopped for a moment and rested and just spent time with themselves, they don't like what gets brought up. Um, so as you heal, you do become more comfortable with yourself, and as you're more tuned to God, you're more comfortable being alone with God. You know, being alone with God is still preferable than being part of a sick society. So it's important to note that. And I think it's a process, and you go through phases on the program. You go through phases where you're okay with being alone and you want to just heal by yourself for a while. Then you want to be a little bit more social and find new people. And then, you know, be okay with the ebb and flow of the program.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's an important part of development is getting closer to God. I know it's probably difficult for a lot of people to hear it. It would be difficult for me to hear it 6 years ago, but it's definitely true, and it definitely helps you just sink into things a lot. And when you can have this conversation with God, it's much more easier to deal with stuff, because it is real, and it just helps you. It just guides you and helps you and keeps you on track a lot. I've just noticed
Right.
you've put the date wrong on there, Luke. You need to change it to 2018. But anyway,
Is that?
yeah, you put Lewis and Luke podcast 6 for the 16th, 2017.
Oh, I put the wrong year, huh?
It's not no big deal.
What? It's not last year.
Not last year, man.
Where did that whole year go, bro? I've been living a lie this whole year.
I quite liked the gains in 2017. Not so much this year, but
Yeah. Hey, if you guys want to know investing stuff, hop over to my other channel. I'm gonna make a video today, actually. I think about selling all your EOS for Digibyte. Okay. All right. Well, I got about. I think that about wraps it up. I gotta go here. Oh, CRM standards. Yes, it does help you connect with the divine spark for sure. Pushing down exercise. Very, very powerful. And I've made videos on it, you guys. It's the most powerful part of the program. You know, it is the program to a certain extent. You have to realize that the program is the pushing down exercise.
for sure. I think I'm going to do a video on it too. I think one good thing about I think that the YouTube channel that me and Luke's done is like you can't beat Dr. Wilson's articles. There's no point in me and Luke sitting down and writing an article on the pushing down exercise because it's not going to do things justice. I think that what we bring to the table is our experience, our direct experience. And I think the fact that me and Luke speak about the same stuff, you hear it from two different minds, and I think that's good as well. And it's something that you don't get from Dr. Wilson's website, which is, I'm sure if Dr. Wilson wrote another article on like the pushing down exercise, he would write it differently, and you'd probably see something that you didn't see on the previous one. Do you know what I mean? So I think that's what one good thing about our YouTube channel is that we come from slightly different backgrounds, so we explain things differently. And even if we do a video on the same subject, you'll probably get something from Luke that you're not going to get from me, and you probably get something from me that you're not going to get from Luke. I think that's cool. That's a good.
Right. Yeah, I think probably like the experiences are probably that we share are probably the most important thing, just because, like you said, like you're not going to be able to write like a factual article that can even come close to the equivalent of Dr. Wilson's website, because it's just so vast and so detailed. Because you have to realize he goes back and he adds stuff too. It's like an index.
Yeah. You can go on a website called Wayback Machine, which is basically an archive of the whole internet going way back to like 2005. And you can actually see what Dr. Wilson's website looked in 2005. And you can go through the whole years, and you can even read articles that, like, you can read the Pushing Down article from like 5 years back, and you can see how it's changed over time. It's really interesting. It's a cool website. Check it out. It's called Wayback Machine. I sometimes have a bit of fun going back and reading Dr. Wilson's website in 2005, 2006, when it was like brand new.
Yeah. It's an incredible
piece. I think that's it then.
Yeah, I think that's it. Thank you guys for all your questions. This is probably like one of probably the most questions and viewers we've had doing a live thing. So it was good. It flowed nicely. We'll try to do this, once every couple of weeks and let you guys know ahead of time.
We say that every time in a podcast.
Yeah.
We'll try harder. And yeah, man, I mean, like, I think people need to realize what me and Luke, what we're saying, and share the videos with your friends. Make sure you're subscribed if you're not subscribed. Like, the only way to get out this truth. I mean, it frustrates me sometimes when I see a lot of other YouTube channels and these people have got like thousands of subscribers, and they'll do videos similar to what we do, and they're just so untruthful, and they really harm people. Maybe it's about fruitarianism or veganism or whatever. And I think, like, you're seeing it yourselves that this is real and it's truthful, and it's just really important to get the word out there to people. So, if there's a video that you've enjoyed watching and you feel like a friend, could do with watching it, even if they don't start the program, it's just dropping a little seed, and that seed will probably grow a little bit in a few months or whatever. Like, please do that. That'd be good.
Yeah, totally. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
All right. Ciao, ciao.